Okay, good evening. It is 7:35. I'd like to call to order the June 27th meeting of the Norwalk Common Council. If you please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Dixon, if you please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Camacho, Mr. Goldstein, Ms. Najolski Eigner, Ms. Smith. Here. Ms. Ayers,
Present.
Mr. Ugelman,
Present.
Ms. Revoluz, Ms. Young. Here. Mr. Kites, Ms. McMurr,
Present.
Ms. Alterman, Mr. Meek, Ms. Shanahan. Here. Mr. Frere.
Here.
Mr. Camacho, Mr. Goldstein, Ms. Najolski Eigner, Ms. Revoluz, Mr. Kites, Ms. Alterman, Mr. Meek. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, we have a quorum.
8 present, we have a quorum. Thank you. First item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes, special meeting, June 12th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Mr. Huberman moves. Any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted? Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Frere abstains. Next item is the acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 13th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Ms. Shanahan moves. Any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted? And opposed and abstentions? Mr.
Mayor, I abstain.
I'm sorry?
Ms. McMurray abstains.
Okay, so Ms. McMurr and Mr. Frere abstain.
Mr. Mayor, I need to correct. I was not there in the 12th. I miswrote my notes. So I have to abstain from the 12th as well.
Okay, so Ms. Shanahan will abstain. So 3 abstentions and 5 in favor.
No, I'm sorry. I was calling the 12th. The minutes for the 12th. I misspoke. I'm
Oh.
abstaining from those.
Okay, the minutes of the 12th. I'm sorry. Okay, next item on the agenda is public participation. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to address the council?
No, true.
We have 2, Ms. Moina Noor.
Good evening, Mayor Rilling and members of the Common Council. My name is Moina Noor. I live on 15 Pequot Drive and am the current president of the Norwalk Public Library Board. I'm here to express my wholehearted support for the acquisition of 3 Belden Avenue. I'm grateful to the city, in particular the mayor and Jessica Vonachek, Chief of Economic Development, who guided this potential acquisition through various committees. I'm also very thankful to the commissioners of the First Taxing District who are selling this property to us. Both the city and the First Taxing District understand that this property is critical to a main library renovation and expansion project. The acquisition of 3 Belden represents a major step in achieving our goal, the creation of a modern, attractive, inviting library that serves as the educational, cultural, and technology hub of the city. One that has adequate parking and is the anchor of a revitalized Wall Street district. We envision a building that both honors our past and looks to the future needs of our residents. The main library was last renovated in 1982, more than 40 years ago. We are now a city of more than 90,000 people. This investment that you hopefully will make today in the library is a long-term investment that will yield benefits for generations to come for every single Norwalk resident, from our preschoolers to our seniors. Currently, the library board is undertaking the task of updating our building plan, which was created just before COVID. We look forward to finalizing this plan and determining a footprint so we can work with the city, our library director, Sherelle Harris, our first-rate staff, our patrons, the residents of Norwalk, to design the library that Norwalk deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Noor. Next is Ms. Louise Washer.
Hi, Mayor Rilling and Common Council. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Louise Washer. I live at 280 Silvermine Avenue. I'm commenting tonight on behalf of the Norwalk River Watershed Association and its 2,400 members and participants in support of the Norwalk Land Trust request for $200,000 from the Open Space Fund to go towards the $1 million purchase of the 3 Stephen Mather Road properties. As I understand it, the funds requested must be used for acquiring open space, and protection of these properties offers unusually important benefits for every Norwalk resident. Like other land trust properties, this space will be protected forever and will be open to the public with trails and educational information. If we pass up this chance, there will likely not be another one like it. We all see development happening at breakneck speed in Norwalk. This is a rare chance to ensure that Norwalk's residents have some ample green space to walk and bike in, that Norwalk students have a new place to visit on field trips to learn about nature, and that we have cleaner air and water. At NRWA, we work hard trying to protect water quality and fish and wildlife habitat. Protecting this open space will do both. These parcels hold special significance as part of a pollinator pathway and green corridor for birds, mammals, and native plants because they are near 2 significant tracts of conserved Mather Homestead property. The combination, if these are preserved, will be 27 acres. The property is also unusually important because a number of species identified in the Connecticut Wildlife Action Plan as greatest conservation need were observed on or expected to occur there. This is crucial as we see devastating declines in biodiversity. As Landtech's certified ecologist who reviewed the land for the land trust reported, we would increase the pristine habitat preserved perpetually into perpetuity, to more than 27 acres in this ecologically sensitive area. The site contains largely wooded habitats with well-developed canopy layer comprised of mostly native forest trees. Norwalk, as we know from the WestCog tree survey of 2017, has the most depleted tree canopy in all of Southwest Connecticut. We need to save all of the mature trees that we have left. This land is also important as a tool for improving public health for all Norwalkers by protecting air and water quality. The site's mature tree canopy will offer both cooler temperatures and cleaner air. As Mayor Rilling, I read you saying in the Norwalk Hour, urban heat effect is the greatest threat posed to Norwalk by climate change. A solution is protecting our mature trees. Trees also help filter air and offer a solution to Norwalk's adult asthma rates, which exceed federal averages by a full percentage point, according to the CDC. The property is also important to protecting water quality, the main reason that I'm here. A stream spans the 3 lots and includes wetlands, which drain cool, clear, high-quality water to the nearby 5 Mile River, which has been heavily developed and generally fails to meet state standards for recreational river water quality. As Landtech points out, it's important to protect some of the last remaining undeveloped parcels within the drainage basin, which provide wildlife refuge and protect water quality. The wetlands offer a number of benefits to people and wildlife as well, including groundwater discharge of clean, cold water, as mentioned, nutrient retention, which in other words is keeping nitrogen and phosphorus from polluting our rivers and Long Island Sound, soil and sediment stabilization, in other words, reducing erosion, which affects water quality, and also flood flow mitigation, which we know Norwalk needs. From 1985 to 2015, development of our open space increased 4.3%, while our forested areas, including wetlands, decreased almost 12%. Norwalk is at this point not on a path for reaching Connecticut's goal of 21% protected open space. There are few 7-acre parcels remaining in Norwalk, and very few that drain clean, cold water to a major river and are close enough to other open space to serve as a wildlife corridor. To the comments that this money should be spent in districts A and B, I would say, show us a 7 forested acres to preserve there, and we should do that as a priority. Those districts are developed, however, and the focus now should be to restore tree canopy, to add community gardens, and to enhance our parks, as the city is doing with separate funding. It's also work that we're doing in my organization that literally hundreds of volunteers in Norwalk are working on, and that the Land Trust is working on. Together with the Land Trust, we've gotten 2 grants that have allowed us to put 88 trees in Oyster Shell Park, Woodward Avenue Park, and between those 2 parks. And we are going to keep working on those issues. It's not that those issues aren't important. They just seem like they come from different funding and different sources. So on behalf of NRWA, I ask you to vote in support of this purchase with $200,000 from the Open Space Fund. It's really important. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anybody else signed to speak. Is there anybody watching virtually that wishes to address the council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Alex Knopp is up next.
You promote him to panelist.
Alex, you could take the mic.
Thank you. Mayor Rilling, members of the council, my name is Alex Knopp, live at 35 Fifth Street. Let me first congratulate new councilman Jim Frayer on his promotion to the council, and hope he enjoys the experience. It's been fascinating when I did it and others did it, and your service on the Board of Estimate well prepares you for this. So Jim, congratulations. I'm here to join my colleague Moyna Noor to urge your support for the acquisition of 3 Belden Avenue. This has been under discussion, negotiation since back in 2018. And I think the acquisition, especially with ARPA money, is well deserved. It is necessary and essential to acquire this property for the benefit of the future of the library. However, it's not sufficient in and of itself to deal with the parking problem. And at the last council meeting 2 weeks ago, Mayor Rilling said he was working on other solutions to try to acquire the lot behind the library where the parking is now on a temporary basis. And I wish him a good success and won't have any more comment about it until he's finished with his good work. So congratulations on this acquisition. And I want to thank also the commissioners of the First Taxing District for their looking out for the long-term interest of the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, former Mayor Knopp, for joining us. Is there anybody else wishing to address the council?
Diane Lauricella is next.
Okay. Thank you.
And Diane, you may take the mic.
Good evening. It just takes, there's a slight delay in between permissions. So good evening, City Council and Mayor Knopp and the staff. My name is Diane Lauricella and I live at 21 Little Fox Lane in West Norwalk. I have 2 items on the agenda I'd like to speak to. One is I wanted later to find out how this can happen. It was a correction in the minutes for June 13th. And it's kind of important. It's stated in the minutes that I said that we should sell 3 Belden Avenue. I did not say that. I said we should purchase 11 Belden Avenue and sell off the bank building after we obtain a good price for it. So if that's a major difference. I actually would like you, I'm here tonight to say, please buy 3 Belden Avenue and thank you for the purchase, first taxing district for selling it, and the city for buying it with our funds. Number 2, item 7B3, land use and building management. It was a tabled item related to the open space fund. It's kind of an interesting position I'm in. I very much agree with Ms. Washer, especially since I was the founding president of the NRWA in the 90s, and I also served on the open space, on the land trust for 12 years and worked very hard, and we had some good successes with the help of the city at times. I also reviewed Ms. Cherichetti's June 21st memo, and the main point I wanted to thrust here, I have sent some emails, and I have one that I just sent, I'd like to see part of the record, be placed in the record, and that is in Chapter 35, Article 1, in Section 4, it talks about what the duties are of the commission, and that includes keeping an index. And then we have Chapter 35, Article 3, in Section 35-1D, as in dog, the permitted uses of this fund. It has been, every time I've heard Ms. Carichetti give her presentation to the land use and building management, planning and zoning last Wednesday, you all on the 13th, and I've read her 21st June memo, always leaves out an important facet, and that is that you can use this fund for upgrading properties that are not considered open space, but could become open space. And that is where I mentioned to partially pay some of the money requested. I've never felt that they do not deserve some of the money, but we do have and have not yet equitably distributed this fund. There are potential parcels in A, B, and C. I did not ever say or imply that that is a definite, but my point is this: the Conservation Commission, based on the advice they were given by the staff, never looked at the index upon which to make. They never did the comparison that the chapter and the Open Space Fund asks for. They have not done their due diligence. And that is why I try to negotiate a compromise where the land trust gets some money for the purchase of Stephen Mather. And we also have some money to use to renovate some city-owned properties, including the Cablevision parking lot that used to be a park. And the fact that this Common Council has not reached out to me, except for a few of you, after I attempted for 2 weeks to make a phone call, have a conversation, I'm very disappointed about. However, it is your duty to take a look at ordinances, of which
You're 4 minutes now.
I'll wrap up. Thank you. I wanted just to say the ordinance upon which this is written is part of the Ordinance Committee's duty to enforce. And Ms. Shanahan is the chair of it. So I'm hoping we could have a conversation going forward. These are all good things. And I think we just have to be equitable to our urban core. There are parcels that are worth saving, and there are trees that are currently present and worth saving in the urban core. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Laricella. Anybody else wishing to address the council?
We have Kevin Tepas. He's Kevin, you may take the mic.
Okay, Mr. Tepes, if you'll unmute yourself, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I'm Kevin Tepaz. I live at number 7 Barnfield Road in Norwalk, and I want to speak to the council in favor of the grant on Stephen Mather. That is the land trust grant on Stephen Mather. I want to assure the members of the council that our purpose in pursuing this is to provide open space and a sustainable environment for today and for tomorrow and for the future here in Norwalk. People are instinctively drawn to open spaces. They like to use open spaces to get away from the noise and clutter of our city. and the open spaces sustain life. In addition, the migratory birds need open spaces both in the spring and the fall. Without them, the migration won't occur. Without migration, our environment will degrade. And so I hope that in the short time I'm trying to take from you, that I can suggest that the preservation of open space is an essential issue for for all communities, especially for the community of Norwalk, for reasons such as Ms. Washer has stated. So I'm going to simply suggest, Mr. Mayor, that it is imperative that we preserve the open space now available to us at Stephen Mather. The grant should go for that open space, and I think it would be a mistake to let this one go by. So I'm going to just suggest that maybe councils in the past have looked at other potential open spaces and not acted on them. We should not be that council for future uses. I encourage the council to grant the money that the Norwalk Land Trust needs for the purchase of the Mather property. Let me just add by way of disclosure that I am on the board of directors of the Land Trust. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Tepes. Is there any other person that wishes to address the council?
We have no one else.
No one?
No one.
See no other persons wishing to address the council, we'll close public participation.
There's
another hand. I'm sorry, no, that's Mr. Tepes. I think he still had his hand up.
No,
Laurie Mira.
Maria Mara.
I don't have that. Okay. If you'll promote her to panelist.
Lauren, you may take the mic.
Can you hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Okay. I'm calling in support of the Stephen Mather Road parcels 12, 14, and 16 for all the reasons that Louise Washer, the environmental benefits, and also just the benefits for the community going forward. We have very few, I live in South Norwalk, we have very few green spaces left in South Norwalk, and the benefits for the community and anywhere in Norwalk where families can go, where community events and activities can take place. The Farm Creek Preserve in Rowayton is such a great example of a preserve that's frequented by people from all over Norwalk, from all socioeconomic backgrounds. It's a refuge, a place to take walks, picnics, enjoy nature, a locus of educational activities, and also for a lot of educational programs for the Norwalk Public Schools. And so I think this would be a great addition, and it would be a shame to let it go, to lose these parcels. So I just speaking out in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other person wishing to address the council?
All right, no one else?
I don't see any other hand raised. So we will close public participation. Next item on the agenda is resignations and appointments. We have one resignation, Miss Elizabeth Tardif for the Arts Commission. She has a busy work schedule and cannot participate any longer. We have no appointments, but under reappointments, it gives me great pleasure to put forward the name of our current controller, Chitsame Lamb, who's done a remarkable job for the city of Norwalk and has been integral for our financial function, and very competent and very a big part of what we do. So I need a motion. Ms. Young makes a motion. Any comments, or?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And also, before I give my comments, I'd like to just acknowledge that Council Member Diana Revolus has joined the meeting.
Okay.
I would like to speak in support of Chitsame. Chitsame has been an outstanding contributor as the city comptroller for the past 4+ years. She is very knowledgeable of the processes and procedures of the comptroller office and has stepped in when needed to provide assistance in other areas of the finance department. Chitsame provides staff support to the Finance and Claims Committee of the Common Council with a special attention to detail and a focus on ensuring every dollar is properly accounted for. She has also skillfully tracked the city's ARPA funding allocations, which, is so important, ensuring that all of the proper reporting and documentation which is needed is provided to those that need to receive that information. I know I ask hundreds of questions of Chitsame each week, and she always gives me 101 answers, which is just great. She's a valued member of the team, and we are fortunate to have her expertise and leadership here in Norwalk. So I fully support her reappointment.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Any further comment or discussion? Ms. Young?
Who would I be if I didn't say something about this plan? So I think Greg points out the professionalism that she brings to the city and to her role. But in order to do that and do her job well, she has to be a great leader of her department, of which you are. Your staff and everybody, I know they respect you and the work that you do, but your leadership allows the city to move in the way that we are, really, and be fiscally responsible and astute. So kudos to you. And I hope you stay as long as the mayor will have you, right? As long as you want to be here, you've got a seat, I would say, right, Mayor, with the city. Great job that you've done, even over COVID. I mean, it's been a very difficult process, but even through that time, you've been here for us and been a strong leader for your department. So kudos. And congratulations again.
Thing that I have the hardest time believing is that 4 years has already gone by.
Right.
Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, I don't see any hands raised. All in favor of reappointing Chitsame Lamb for the position of controller? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you and congratulations. Next item on the agenda, just mayor's remarks. I have a few. One, first of all, on Thursday, June 29th at 6:30 p.m., the city's second public workshop for our Resilient South Norwalk project virtually. Come learn about all the impacts of climate change on our community. We will be discussing the potential mitigation ideas to address flooding and heat impacts in the South Norwalk area. Coming up July 3rd, again, it's already a year past, but the city of Norwalk is excited to showcase our 2023 Independence Day concert and fireworks performance at Pasture Beach. Derek and the Fun Bags will perform live music before and after the fireworks performance. Their main live music show will start at 7. Fireworks will begin at approximately 9, and then Derek and the Fun Bags will perform again around 9:45. We also want to make everyone aware that there's new signage down at the beach, new traffic pattern. Be careful as you drive through. We had a little bit of an accident there, but I think everything is back in order. We ask everyone's patience and cooperation during the time and encourage those interested. Really think about sticking around after the fireworks, because I know it takes about 2 hours to drive out if everybody tries to drive out all at once. There's a reason why we can't have all 4 lanes going out at the end of the show, because God forbid we needed an emergency service in there. We wouldn't be able to accommodate somebody that might need it. So stick around, bring your picnic lunch, bring your family, listen to the music of Derek and the Fun Bags, and have a good time. And we're very pleased that we'll be providing that again. Also, City Hall will be closed on July 4th. So I'm also proud to announce, and I think most people have probably heard, that the City of Norwalk is recognized by 3 different organizations: Connecticut Insider, Fortune Magazine, and livability.com on the state and national level for the highest quality of living and livability and being family friendly. Fortune magazine has said we're one of the top 29 places to live for families in the entire country. Livability said that we're in the top 100, the highest of the top 100 places to live in the United States for families. And finally, Connecticut Insider ranked the city of Norwalk as #1 for the quality of life among 25 of the most populous cities in the state of Connecticut. So we're really very proud. I think we've known for quite some time that Norwalk has been on the rise. People are starting to move here, send their children to our schools, invest in their businesses here. And they're looking at Norwalk as I said, a city on the rise. Have you heard me say this before? We used to be known as the hole in the center of the donut. We're now the cream in the center of the donut. And people are excited about Norwalk. There's a vibrancy, I think, that we haven't seen before. But this doesn't happen by accident. I want to thank the people on this council for all that you've done, the hard work that you've done over the past several years. Many of you have been here 6, 8, 10, well, I've been here 10 years, 6 or 8 years. You know, it shows, the hard work shows. But I also want to thank all the people that have volunteered to serve on the boards and commissions, because that's a critical part too. And I know you all get paid this huge sum of $50 a month. The people who work on the boards and commissions don't make any money, as Mr. Freyer knows. But again, it's all that combination of effort that makes the city great. And certainly, last but not least, the people that live in the city of Norwalk, the people that have moved here, the people that have done what they can to continue to make the city of Norwalk a growing, thriving, flourishing community. We're very, very pleased. We're excited about these latest recognitions and more to come. So thank you all. Last but not least, I want to welcome and congratulate Jim Freyer on his appointment to the Common Council for the District C, replacing Tom Livingston, who now has moved on to being my interim chief of staff on the departure of Leisha, who went to, as we know, to be the deputy commissioner of the Department of Transportation. Jim served on the Board of Investment and Taxation since 2017. He has a wealth of experience, including his position as senior vice president of Citigroup. Not only that, he's a voter. I'm sure he will make an excellent council member and hit the ground running. So again, thank you. With that, I'll turn over the floor to the council president, Mr. Burnett. I don't know if you're frozen. Mr. Burnett, I think you're frozen. Okay. We'll give him a couple of seconds and see if he can unfreeze.
Otherwise, I'm prepared to read the consent calendar, which is, I think, what he was going to suggest I do.
Mr. Burnett? Okay, he might have to log off and log back in.
Should I start the consent?
I'm sorry?
Can't you just start reading? She's going to read the consent.
Yeah, you're reading the consent calendar.
just reserve.
So why don't we have Lisa read this consent calendar, and then when she finishes, if Mr. Burnett has any comments to make, we'll go back to him. Excuse me 1 second, I have to step out, so.
All right, so I will get started on reading the consent calendar for today, which is June 27th. We're on section 7, Common Council Committees. Paragraph A, Recreation Parks Cultural Affairs Committee. Number 1, authorize the purchasing officer to issue a purchasing order to MTE Equipment Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $30,742.80. Sole source purchase off the MAFA 116 pricing contract for a 2023 Sandstar 3 infield prep machine from accounts as noted. 2, technical corrections. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into a 3-year contract with Active Network LLC for the purchase of recreation management software in an amount not to exceed $53,799.70 for 1 year, for year 1, $28,875 for year 2, $20,319 for year 3, $31,835 for year 4 extension, and $33,427 for year 5 extension. Funding for year 1 through ARPA account, year 2, 3, 4, and 5 through the Recreation Parks operating budget. Number 3, authorizing the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Compan in an amount not to exceed $383,176.32 for the sole source purchase of a new playground for Veterans Park off the MOMNIA purchase contract account noted, funding from Deep Beautification Grant account noted. B, Land Use Building Management Committee. Authorize, number one, authorize the NPS Facilities Department to issue change orders to the Nathan Hale Middle School HVAC project with Sabia Electric Contractors, Inc. contract for a total not to exceed $92,460. Common Council authorized the contract on June 13th, 2023, and the funds are available on account as noted. C, Finance and Claims Committee. Resolution requesting for Building Management Department project in the amount of $1,420,000 from ARPA Fund account noted, ARPA General Expense Acquisition of 3 Bellin Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut. 2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute the grant assignment certification SFY 2024, assigning State of Connecticut 13B-38BB Elderly and Disabled Demand Responsive Municipal Grant Program apportion funds to operation of transportation services coordinating entity Norwalk Transit District. D, Community Services. Number 2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments as may be necessary with Human Services Council for 1, Children's Connection in the amount of $16,310. Number 2, Dr. Robert E. Appleby School-Based Health Centers, $23,690 under the Community Services Department in the amount of a total of $40,000 account as noted. Number 3, amended. Action item 3, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments as may be necessary with the Carver Inc. for enrichment summer programs for public school children under the Community Services Department for the period ending June 30, 2023 in the amount of $46,000, in the period ending July 1, 2024 in the amount of $150,000 for a total of $196,000 account noted. Number 4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to accept and execute any and all documents, instruments, or amendments as may be necessary with DCF grant funds estimated at $35,000 to support the Youth Services Juvenile Review Board program. No match is required and the grant is non-competitive. And then number F, Public Works Committee. Number 1, whereas pursuant to CGS Section 32-285A, the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development is authorized to extend financial assistance to the economic development projects, and whereas it's desirable and in the public interest of the city of Norwalk, make an application to the state for $5,139,240 in order to undertake the Lockwood Heather Lane drainage improvements and to execute an assistance agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council for the city of Norwalk, 1, that it is cognizant of the conditions and prerequisites for the state financial assistance imposed by Section 32-285 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Number 2, that the filing of an application for state financial assistance by the city of Norwalk in an amount not to exceed $5,139,240 is hereby approved, and that Harry W. Rilling, as mayor of the city of Norwalk, is directed to execute and file such application with the Connecticut Department of Economic and Community Development to provide such additional information, to execute such other agreements as may be required, to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for state financial assistance if such an agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decisions, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the city of Norwalk. Leave that stay.
Okay, that's the consent calendar. Ms. Young, as the council majority leader, will you call the vote?
All in favor of the consent calendar as read, please signify by raising your hand. That's everybody? What happened?
Lost everybody.
Just, okay.
Oh, now we're back.
There we go. Okay. Everybody?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay,
So we're gonna-
consent calendar passes. Hopefully, Mr. Burnett will be able to log back on. I think he's logged off.
He's trying.
He's true. Okay, so that brings us to 7B2, I believe, Ms. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. If I may move the item and say a few words.
Yes.
2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents necessary to acquire 3 Belton Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut, in the amount of $1,400,000 plus customary due diligence costs, closing costs and adjustments, and title insurance costs. Account number noted, ARPA general expense, Ray acquisition of 3 Belton Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut.
Ms. Smith has moved the item. Comments and
Yes, so I would just like to comment that this is a very important purchase for the city. It will immediately provide 30 parking spots for the library. And that is just steps away from the side door of the library. And so as soon as this is taken care of, we will have those spots by August 31st, when the agreement with Mr. Milligan runs out. And so I think that that's our most immediate need, and we'll have those parking spots until any kind of renovations or additions begin on the library, which I believe we know will be several years. So it's terrific that we're going to have those parking spots immediately. Also, I wanted to, just publicly state, and, I know this is very dear to your heart, Mayor, but I would just like to publicly state that it is my fervent hope that we will continue negotiating with Mr. Milligan and hope that, we may come to some agreement on that portion of the parking.
further discussion or comment?
Mayor.
Ms. Young.
I just want to add on to what my colleague has mentioned, but also to thank the taxing district for their willingness to partner with the city, because that's what it's all about, and seeing the need and meeting the need for the city. So I appreciate Mr. Jalen Seed's leadership and the rest of the commissioners in making sure that this went forward.
Thank you. Further comment or discussion? I too want to recognize the importance of this parcel of property. It's been a long time coming. I do want to recognize the efforts of our Corporation Counsel, Mario Coppola, who worked very hard over the past several years to negotiate this process. And I think we're at the point where we're moving forward. And I want to thank, again, the council for their support, the library board for their support and their diligence in being persistent and moving us forward. And I can tell you unequivocally that there are discussions going on about the parcel that we are currently leasing. We're hoping that we can make some progress in that as well. So seeing no further comments, if I can get a vote, all in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Knorr, for being here. And congratulations. Next on the agenda is item 7B3, I believe.
Yes.
And I need to recuse myself, Mayor.
Okay, oh, yes.
I'll take my phone to-
Please let the record show that Ms. Shanahan has recused herself and has left the chambers.
Okay, item 3, under land use and building management, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, and amendments thereto as may be necessary to grant funds from the open space capital budget funds to the Norwalk Land Trust, Inc. for acquisition of 12, 14, and 16 Stephen Mather Road in the amount of $200,000, account number noted. So I'd like to move that and just say a few words.
Yes, please.
Yes, so we had quite a long discussion on the floor 2 weeks ago about the concerns that have been raised. Ms. Larchello raised these concerns, and I think that we take these concerns about equity in our urban core very seriously. But I think we don't want to throw the baby out with bathwater. I think that, this purchase of this property on Stephen Mather Road, what we're looking to do here is to protect and preserve open space and wetlands. One of the benefits that I've really given a lot of thought to here is the environmental benefit of having this property, aside from all the incredibly wonderful things Ms. Washer pointed out in her public comment about all the benefits. But, as we recognize the impact of the severity of the storms that we are seeing, anything we can do to avoid building on these properties, and 2 of them are very buildable, and the third is partially buildable. Anything that we can do to decrease impervious surface is a good idea. And so I think it's an environmentally sound decision. And I think that, you know, we're talking now about the equity and making sure that, you know, we look for whatever we can, whether it be pocket parks or any type of open space in the urban core, because it is a matter of equity. And it was mentioned that there is other funding around that, and particularly around the Parks Department, and we're waiting on the master plan for that. So I think that one doesn't preclude the other, and we can look at those issues.
Thank you.
And
Further dis-
Ms. Cherchetti is here if anyone has
Oh,
any questions. I
Ms.
didn't forget.
Cherchetti, if you'd, if anybody has any questions for Ms. Cherchetti regarding those parcels? No? Any further discussion on this item? Mr. Huberman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm voting for this tonight, but I'm concerned about the equity piece. I'm very concerned about it. The city as a whole needs to really be looking at our urban core areas as well and finding solutions, whether my colleague just mentioned pocket parks, things of that nature that are going to bring green space into our urban core. I was very pleased with the work that Ms. Washer had referenced about the tree work that they're doing, and the tree work that we're doing as a city is fantastic. But I think that we need to make a larger commitment to identifying spaces in the urban core, especially in District B and in my own district, District A, and working towards whether it's acquisition, whether it's remediation, all of those things. And I think we need to come up with a much more solid plan. I think this is a great acquisition. It's a positive step forward for these types of acquisitions, but we can't just have a not-for-profit in the Norwalk Land Trust be solely responsible for finding those properties. We as a city need to take a much more proactive view of this, and that's what I wanted to say tonight. But I will be voting for this. I think it is a good use of the money, but we need to have a much more forward-looking vision.
Thank you, Mr. Huberman. Ms. Young?
And I have to echo with my council person that said, you know, when we talk about the tree canopy and all those things, we talk a lot about the concrete jungle in South Norwalk. And how do we change that? We've got to start thinking outside the box. And so it may not be a pocket park, it may be something different, but we really need to move the needle a little bit in a different way. And so I believe I will vote for this. I must say that I was kind of on the fence about it, but had conversations with Ms. Cherchetti, had conversations with Mr. Livingston and Ms. Smith about it. And I will be voting for it, but I do believe, as Councilman Helderman said, that we've got to think of District B and District A and other areas, and even C, where we're talking about building, because that's what we're doing. And so how do we balance creating this concrete jungle, but also looking to be environmentally friendly? And so I agree with you.
Thank you. Further comments or discussion?
Yeah, I just like to
Mr. Fair.
fix a bit. A lot of people think I was just a financial guy, but I used to be doing a lot of environmental sustainable development around the waterfront at one time in my life. And I think that although this is not on the waterfront, this is a very, very unique set of properties up on Mather Road. And not only is it environmentally interesting, it's also got a historical background as well. So I think that I'm all for, very much in favor of this this motion that's on the table tonight.
Thank you. Ms. McMurray?
Thank you, Mayor. We often talk about development, building. We're talking about zoning regulation updates most recently. And I think it's really important to have a balance of that and creating green space and protecting the green space that we have. I like what Mr. Hoovelman said, and I agree with him about being proactive about this and really going out and finding innovative ways to create spaces. I like what Ms. Smith said too about pocket parks. I think we need to be looking for those opportunities just as much, if not more, than the developments we are looking to create in this city. There has to be a balance. We cannot build without having that green space for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Revolution and Ms. Ayers.
I'm already gonna say sorry for that, but that being said, I don't know. I just want to echo a lot of my colleagues. I do agree with a lot being said, but I just want to speak to something that having green space holds to, and it's the character of which Connecticut is, and particularly Fairfield County. And why I echo the equity part, I do agree, but why I'm voting yes is because part of Connecticut is the feel of us is being more like the backyard to a city, a city unit, like New York, for example. I'm losing words, but we happen to be like a very more kind of country laid back backyard type of feel. And I think that's something very unique, not only to the understanding of Connecticut, but the characteristics of what made Norwalk have the national recognition that it did. So in the idea of giving the space of having that wholesome feel of being the town we are, the community and neighborhood where, so this little one behind us can grow up and see some green spaces and so on. I do want to echo the part of not forgetting that it really does speak to who we are, the character of being here. And that's why I would like to see more green spaces, not only for my district, but then like we were saying for A and B. I just think it just speaks to the beauty of what we are and the fact that we can have kids still go outside. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to speak to that. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Revolution. Ms. Ayers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to kind of direct the conversation a little differently. Several of my colleagues talked about innovation and thinking outside the box and doing new and different things. I just want to bring to this body that we did talk about, and it was something that I tried to vigorously promote, virtual agriculture, inside green spaces. These are all things that urban cities throughout the United States are doing when they find that they have these landlocks, these concrete jungles. We in Norwalk have several properties that we could probably revision or be innovative and look at these properties differently to address some of our green space. If you want inspiration, you should look to our young people who are doing creative and innovative things with STEM and learning how to plant plants inside bottles and all these creative things. You know, sometimes we get to these tables and we act like we have to reinvent or be the first one to have an idea. But I encourage you that you do not have to. You should really look to things that are already established and maybe bring them into the city and collaborate with your colleagues who sometimes have something that's a little different that you might not have thought about before, but could definitely benefit us. Green space is something that we're going to need as long as we're here on the earth. As someone said previously, it helps with the quality of life, but it also helps with our health, having more green space. So I encourage this council as they move forward to be innovative and think of different types of spaces, not just pocket parks, but virtual agriculture, as well as green spaces that are inside buildings. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Revolution, you have your hand up. Are you wishing?
I just want to champion what she said because I'm one of the people who championed with her, and when we had Dominique Johnson here as well. So I do agree. I actually didn't want to bring that up. I just wanted to give some backing to what she says because, you know, health is a big thing of mine, and thinking about, for example, conversations of how this could be, you know, gardening, which we've all talked about, you know. So I just want to champion what Ms. Ayers said. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Revolution. Any further comment or discussion? I want to thank the council because your insight and certainly looking for ways to promote open space, green space is critically important. And certainly the equity matter it needs to be resolved, and we need to keep an eye open for that and find out whatever opportunities we have. And we're very lucky to have Mr. Chetty available to us to help us in that direction. So if seeing no further comment, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? And please, the vote is 7-0, and please show that Ms. Shanahan had recused herself. That then brings us to Mr. Huberman, item 7D1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move this item and then speak to it.
Yes,
Authorize the mayor, Perry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments as may be necessary with Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance Center Incorporated for continued in-home mental health and family support services for public school children under the Community Services Department for the period July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024 in the amount of $399,996, account number noted. I remember in 2019 when we had the national crisis that was going on that led us to allocate this money originally we were faced with an influx of young families, young children coming into our community who were non-English language learners. And I was very proud at that point that we were able to find a way to incorporate in-home services, mental health services for these kids through the school system. And what happened from that became a program that developed, blossomed. We put into a budget item because of it, and the credit of Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance and the work that they've done. We have tonight with us, we have Chief Lamont Daniels, who can answer any questions, along with Gail Melanson, Marissa Manjone, and Clara Mesa of Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance, who are here tonight, who can answer any questions that anyone might have about the program. But I'm excited that we are once again authorizing this and that we are continuing forward tonight. So
Thank you. Further comment or questions that we might have or might need answered? Ms. Ayers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not a question. I just unfortunately have to vote in the negative for this particular item. Not that I am not a supporter of the mission of Mid-Fairfield Child Guidance, but I do want to go on record in saying that I think with the resources that have been allocated per the presentation that was given in the committee, and I will not rehash what I said in the committee, anybody can go back, it's public record, and see that. Due to the data and the information that was shown, then I will not be in support of this allocation.
Thank you, Ms. Ayers. Further comments, any questions that we have from Ms. Mangone or Mr. Daniels that are here?
Thank you, Mayor. And just very briefly, as pointed out, we are joined by the team from Mid-Fairfield. And as Councilman Hulaman indicated, this is the third year. I think the point, Mayor, that I would like to elevate is that while we are asking the Common Council for approval for the agreement, this investment has actually garnered additional support from private philanthropy. This is an example of what a good private and public partnership can look like, where the municipality has made an investment and now other philanthropic organizations are also making additional investments to expand to serve the children here in Norwalk who are residents. So, through you, Mayor, I just want to thank you for our continued support. This line item has already been allocated. So Common Council, this is already approved. So for tonight, you're approving the agreement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Ms. Smith.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, if I may,
I was working at Norwalk High School when this program began and that special allocation was made. And I really saw firsthand the incredible work that was done with the kids who were really in crisis, and the kids continue to be in crisis. And I just think that this is a really important program that we continue with because you know, we talked about the mental health of kids a lot during the budget season, but, you know, kids who come to us from other countries who, you know, are here as refugees, you know, their needs are very, very great. And this program is in some ways in some cases life-saving.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Further comment, discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? I believe, Ms. Ayers, you're voting negative and no? I didn't see.
My hand was up. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, yeah, you're on my other screen. So, okay, so we have Mr. Burnett has rejoined us. Thank you. And so it's 7 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Burnett, we jumped on to the consent calendar because you were frozen. Did you wish to make any comments as council president?
No specific comments, Mr. Mayor. I'll just proceed with the great work of the city.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that brings us, Mr. Hubelman, to 7D3? Or is that on or off? That's on. Okay, so now that brings us to Ms. McMurr on 7E1. I believe.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move this item forward and say a few comments after I read it into the record. E1 is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to sign a memorandum of understanding between the City of Norwalk Police Department and Liberation Programs to provide a part-time clinician to our current behavioral health unit. This partnership will expand our current BHU services by adding the CLEAR Community and Law Enforcement for Addiction and Recovery Participants program to the City of Norwalk. The goal of this program is to build a partnership with the Liberation Program for the prevention of overdoses and to provide clinicians for addiction services. This is a no-cost program for the Norwalk Police Department and will provide much needed services to the city. I just want to highlight that in addition to our behavioral health unit, which we set up with social workers earlier in the term, we are adding hopefully this to our roster in the Norwalk Police Department. And I think it just shows that they are really being proactive about providing services where it is greatly needed and looking outside of law enforcement to provide those services for our citizens and their families. And so I want to commend the NPD for that. And if we have any questions or comments, we have Deputy Chief Terry Blake with us this evening. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McMurr. Any further comment or discussion? Yeah, I want to commend the police department as well. And again, the council for approving this. You know, oftentimes people who are in a state of crisis need something other than a law enforcement approach. They need some counseling, they need some assistance. And this is a remarkable program. And the police department is showing how progressive they are in finding ways to deal with these kinds of issues and hopefully keeping people out of the criminal justice system because they don't belong there. Again, I want to thank everybody in the council for approving this or anticipation of approving it. So all jumping the gun a little bit. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. I believe that's all we have coming before the council. That's Ms. Revolus.
Motion to adjourn.
Ms. Revolus has surprisingly made a motion to adjourn.
You know.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you to the council. We are adjourned at 8:39 p.m. Thank you.